Heists are one of the biggest parts of a game like GTA 5. However, with only 27 different jobs that could count as heists, there was just never enough for me to consider making a ranking video. I had the same problem with other ideas, such as ranking every skatepark, which was suggested by Lincoln 8 months ago, or Matt, who wanted me to rank every basketball court. Well, with there only being a limited amount of each of these, I knew they couldn't be a weekly video. So, welcome to day 1 of the 12 days of Rankmas. First off, let's clarify some things. We'll classify anything that has setup missions and a finale where you're stealing or taking something as a heist. We have the data contract at the bottom of the list. As a part of the Autoshop DLC, we'll see a lot of these heists early on, and this just happened to be the worst. Not far behind the Super Dollar Deal, which has a higher payout at $185,000, though again, it didn't score well on the community poll. These are followed by the Prison Contract and the Lost Contract, which basically tied for 24th place. I think a big reason that these scored so low in general is because of how annoying Sasanta can be. The ECU job is definitely one of my favorite Autoshop contracts, being one of only few missions where we stop the train makes it a pretty unique one. 22nd place moves us away from the Autoshop and into the new DLC with the Project Breakaway file. Being brand new, perhaps players haven't had a chance to do this mission, though it is the lowest paying heist in this entire list, at only $150,000. The agency deal contract is the third best Autoshop heist according to the community, while the Black Box FIB file is the second worst FIB file heist Jody makes us do, likely due to the fact that some players have reported it as being fairly difficult. The bank contract is the last Autoshop contract we'll see in a long time, though it is on the lower end for pay, probably why it scored so poorly. The Brute Force file is a good choice for the FIB files so far, having a fun new hack based on a 5-letter anagram. It also takes us back to Mount Chiliad and the missile silo, which hasn't been seen since Doomsday. The McToney robbery came with the Salvage Yard DLC and is unanimously the worst vehicle robbery in the update. These robberies also have a great pay bump compared to the Autoshop contracts and FIB files. The best heist of the newest DLC is the Fine Art file, likely due to the fact that it also has a new hack available, which was well designed and fun to complete. This heist also features a new throwback to Vice City if you're stealing the Tiki statue. In 15th is the Duggan robbery, which has an average payout of roughly $300,000, and is one of the easier robberies, being almost fully located in the city right near the salvage yards. The cargo ship robbery, however, may be a bit more time consuming, but it's much more interesting and fun, giving it much higher replayability, something that's very important for a game where repeatability is inevitable. The gangbanger robbery wouldn't have been this high on my personal list, because I find it simple and fairly boring, but to each their own. Before we move on to the first actual OG heist, I want to remind you guys that there's only 13 days left for us to hit the absurd goal of 100,000 subscribers, which would force me to rank all 34,000 trees in the entire game. Alternatively, if we reach 50,000, I'll be ranking every single road, which is much more manageable on both ends. Now finally moving on to the actual heists, the Prison Break heist was ranked the worst of the traditional heists. Sure, it has a much higher payout after the buffs and only has 4 setups. However, one team will see more action than the other, and despite giving players a good intense challenge, there isn't too much replayability on this heist. The podium robbery scored the highest of all the salvage yard robberies, which is likely for good reason, as any time we get to take something from the casino is considered a good day in my books. The Fleeca job is the first heist seen in GTA Online, however it is also a very entry-level heist. Simple grab-and-go bank job in Kumosh. A strong point for this heist is that although it has a lower payout, it has less setup missions and only requires 2 players to complete.
Hi there!
Series A funding was a fun heist for many involving Trevor and Ron, but having 5 setup missions and requiring 4 players to complete the $700,000 payout starts to feel quite low once you divide it up. Having a less satisfying ending, it scored lower with the general player base and only scored 9th. Just beating it out, the Humane Labs raid scored an average of 3.53 out of 6 on the community side, though the biggest problem is the unbalanced design of this heist. 2 of the 4 players infiltrate the Humane Labs, which can be fun, exciting, and active, while the other 2 players provide air support and get a much more boring experience. This heist may have a payout of nearly $1 million, but it's just not that fun for everyone across the board. The Cluckenbell Farm raid rightfully scores 7th place, being quick, fun, and easy, especially for new players. This heist was a great addition with good levels of replayability, making it a more ideal heist, even with its $500,000 payout. And it can also be done alone without buying any previous businesses. The Doomsday heist counts as a big chunk, as we'll be counting all 3 acts together, as it's really just one big operation. One of the biggest setbacks with this is that there's a total of 19 setups and preps, which is significantly less balanced than the others with its $2.8 million payout. These missions are fun and exciting, and these preps are even doable solo, while the setups and heists require 2 players. Now some people may say that this doesn't belong on the list, and others will argue that it has to be on the list, and that's the contract, which was severely overlooked by myself personally. But following a recent replay, I was reminded just how quick, easy, and fun this can be. With a payout of $1 million flat and the ability to do it solo, it lands itself in 5th place. Now, moving all the way back to the auto shop contracts, the Union Depository contract is the highest paying contract in the DLC, paying $337,000. And with it only having 2 setups, this mission has a great time to payout balance. Now, still being someone who hasn't done the Pacific Standard heist myself, even I know how iconic this heist can be. It's been described as the perfect bank heist by some players. With only 5 setup missions and the largest payout of all the original heists at $1.5 million, the ratio here is fantastic, even if it has to be divided across 4 players. Which leaves us with the top 2. And requiring 2 players, the Diamond Casino heist has a massive replayability, with multiple approaches, entrances, exits, disguises, and more. Having the highest average payout at roughly $2.6 million and 12 setup missions for the perfect approach, this may have a worse ratio than the Pacific Standard, but has much higher replayability. Meaning that the best heist in Grand Theft Auto V is obviously the Cayo Perico heist. Scoring 5.37 on the community poll and paying out roughly $2 million on average. This heist is possible to do completely solo, but it also has its perks for bringing friends, which really helps its replayability, alongside the fact that the entire island basically becomes an open world heist. With endless possible completion combinations, there will always be a new way to complete this heist. So join me tomorrow for day 2 of Rankmas, where we'll be ranking every single skate park in GTA 5.